The relationship between ego in leadership and teamwork. Welcome to EGO PEDIA, where we explore the human mind, behavior, and emotional intelligence. In this episode, we dive into a powerful topic: the relationship between ego in leadership and the health of teamwork. Let's break this down together, calmly, clearly, and with real-life insight. What is leadership ego? Ego in leadership is the internal voice that says, I must always be right. I can't show weakness. Success means being in control. Now, some ego is necessary. It gives leaders confidence, clarity, and the courage to make tough calls. But when ego goes unchecked, it turns leadership into dictatorship and teamwork into fearful silence. The problem: ego versus teamwork. Teamwork relies on trust, communication, openness, shared goals. But ego-driven leaders often prioritize their image over team impact, control over collaboration, blame over accountability. This creates tension. People stop speaking up. Creativity dies. The team works for the leader, not with them. Real-life example. Imagine a manager who never admits mistakes. When a project fails, they blame the team, even when they made the final decision. What happens next? The team feels afraid to share ideas. People stop giving honest feedback. Meetings become performances, not conversations. This is how ego silently destroys team spirit. The common ego traps in leadership. Here are 5 signs of ego-harming leadership. 1. Micromanagement. If I don't do it myself, it won't be done right. 2. Taking credit. The success was all mine. 3. Blaming down. The team didn't execute well, instead of, what could I have done better? 4. Ignoring feedback. I've been doing this for years, I know better. 5. Fear of vulnerability. Avoiding phrases like, I was wrong, I don't know, or I need help. The psychological root. Many ego-driven leaders aren't bad people. They're often afraid of being seen as weak, wrong, or unworthy. Ego becomes their shield. But shields block connection. Teams don't need perfect leaders. They need real leaders, who lead with both backbone and heart. The impact on team performance. Let's compare ego-driven leader, humble leader. Commands with fear, inspires with trust, controls every move, empowers with direction, reacts defensively, responds reflectively, needs praise, shares credit, hides mistakes, learns from them. Teams led by ego may comply, but teams led by humility commit. Why humility builds stronger teams. According to research from Harvard Business Review and the University of Washington, humble leaders improve collaboration. They reduce fear in the workplace. Their teams innovate more, and employees stay longer. Why? Because humility creates psychological safety, a space where people can speak freely without fear of being shut down. How to recognize ego in yourself as a leader. Ask yourself, do I talk more than I listen? Do I accept feedback or argue with it? Can I say I was wrong easily? Do I give credit publicly and take responsibility privately? If these questions feel uncomfortable, that's okay. Growth begins with honesty. How leaders can move from ego to empowerment. Here are 5 steps. 1. Practice active listening. Pause. Let others finish. Reflect before responding. 2. Invite dissent. Say, tell me where I might be wrong. 3. Share credit often. Use phrases like, that was team member's idea. 4th, model vulnerability. Be open about your learning process. 5. Focus on the mission, not your image. Great leaders serve the goal, not their ego. A powerful quote to remember: leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge. Simon Sinek. True leadership is not about status, it's about stewardship, protecting the vision and growing your people. Final thoughts. The ego is loud, but leadership requires us to be still, to listen, and to lift others up. If you're in a leadership role, formal or informal, ask yourself, am I leading to protect my image? Or am I leading to grow my people? When we lead from humility, we don't lose power. We multiply it by building trust, creativity, and true teamwork. Title: The relationship between ego in leadership and teamwork. The relationship between ego in leadership and the health of teamwork. This isn't just about bosses and employees, it's about anyone who leads and anyone who works with others. So let's break it down, layer by layer. What is ego in leadership? Ego at its core is our sense of self. It's the voice inside us that says, I matter. I want to be seen, respected, valued. I don't want to look weak or wrong. In leadership, the ego becomes a double-edged sword. On one side, it can drive confidence, decisiveness, and charisma. On the other, it can feed insecurity, defensiveness, and control. When a leader's ego is balanced, they inspire others and guide with clarity. But when ego becomes inflated or fragile, it creates tension, fear, and dysfunction in the team. How ego shows up in leadership. Let's look at some real-world behaviors that often signal ego-driven leadership. 1. Needing to be right all the time. This shuts down differing opinions, even when they could lead to better outcomes. 2. Avoiding vulnerability. Never admitting mistakes, rarely asking for help, and always projecting control. 3. Controlling everything. Micromanaging tasks because no one else can do it right. 4. Taking credit and shifting blame. Highlighting personal success while downplaying team contributions. 5. Using authority to silence disagreement, interpreting feedback as disrespect or threat. These patterns may seem subtle at first, but over time, they erode team dynamics. Why teamwork suffers. Under ego, teamwork is built on several invisible yet essential qualities: trust, openness, shared responsibility, mutual respect. When ego dominates leadership, these qualities break down. Here's how. Fear replaces trust. Team members hesitate to speak up or share concerns. Silence replaces feedback. People stop offering ideas because it's not safe to disagree. Compliance replaces creativity. Instead of exploring new solutions, teams follow orders just to avoid conflict. This creates a toxic environment, even if on the surface, everything looks professional. A realistic scenario. Let's say a department is led by someone we'll call Manager A. They're intelligent and experienced, but extremely ego-driven. When a project fails, Manager A never takes responsibility. They say things like, "My plan was fine, the team didn't execute it well. If they had just followed instructions, this wouldn't have happened." Now imagine how the team feels. Frustrated, blamed, disengaged. In the next meeting, fewer people speak up. Ideas are held back. Creativity dies quietly. That's how ego slowly poisons a team, not with shouting, but with insecurity and silence. So what drives ego in leaders? This is where we go deeper, psychologically. Many ego-driven leaders aren't selfish by nature. Instead, they're often insecure or over-identified with their role. Here's why. They believe, my worth is tied to always being right. Or, if I'm not in control, I'll lose respect. Or, if I show weakness, I'll lose authority. These beliefs are rooted in fear, not power. Ego becomes a shield against criticism, failure, or perceived humiliation. But shields block more than just harm. They also block trust, connection, and growth. How ego affects team performance, a side-by-side look. Let's compare how an ego-driven leader and a humble leader affect a team. Ego-driven leader. Humble leader says, "Because I said so." Says, "Let's decide together." Avoids blame but seeks praise. takes blame but shares praise, values authority, values collaboration, sees questions as challenges, sees questions as opportunities, avoids feedback, invites feedback. In simple terms, ego builds walls, humility builds bridges, and it's bridges, not walls, that connect people to a shared mission. Cue what the research says. According to studies published in Harvard Business Review and organizational psychology journals, humble leaders are more likely to foster trust, engagement, and innovation. Their teams report higher job satisfaction and lower burnout. Even productivity metrics improve because people feel seen, safe, and supported. On the flip side, leaders who score high on ego-driven traits often experience high turnover, struggle to retain top talent, and are surrounded by yes people instead of real thinkers. How to spot ego in your own leadership. This part is important and requires courage. Ask yourself, do I get defensive when people disagree with me? Do I listen fully or just wait for my turn to speak? Do I need to be the smartest person in the room? When things go wrong, do I own it or look for someone to blame? Can I easily say, I was wrong or you were right? Self-awareness is the first step. No one is immune to ego, but the best leaders are the ones who learn to manage it. Moving from ego to empowerment, 5 shifts to practice. Here are 5 practical ways to replace ego with empowered leadership. 1. Pause before reacting. Don't defend. Listen. Ask, what can I learn here? 2. Celebrate others publicly. Mention team members by name. Recognize contributions in front of peers. 3. Admit mistakes openly. Model what growth looks like. Say, I got it wrong, but here's how we'll fix it. 4. Ask for help. Great leaders delegate, collaborate, and remain teachable. 5. Define success as team growth. Shift your focus from personal image to collective impact. Final reflection: ego is not the enemy. It's a part of us, meant to protect, to motivate, and to give us identity. But in leadership, unchecked ego becomes a prison. It locks us into rigid patterns. It keeps our teams small, scared, and silent. Real leadership requires self-awareness, humility, and the ability to say, I don't know. Let's figure it out together. Your voice matters. Because in the end, leadership is not about being the loudest in the room. It's about creating a room where everyone feels heard. Quote to close with: if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. Thank you for joining us on EGO PEDIA. If this episode spoke to you, consider subscribing, leaving a comment, or sharing it with someone who leads or wants to. And remember, your ego doesn't have to lead the way. Your awareness can. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and lead with intention.